Both of the mainstays at center back for Tottenham are now gone, and there are a lot of questions regarding who they could have at center back and how good or bad it could potentially be next season. With Alderweireld now on his way to Qatar for 13 million to Al Dulal SC, and there are some real questions now about who Tottenham will bring in and if they could be any good back next season. So we're going to talk about some of the potential signings they could make this summer to try and improve their center backs and what is right now a very poor and devoid of depth center back pairing. But we'll dish it off to Lane to give his thoughts on the transfer and the official statement from Tottenham Hotspurs.
Well, it has been 6 long, trophy-less, painful years for Toby Alderweireld at Tottenham. The now 32-year-old, like you said, will be moving to Qatar club Al Duhal. And Tottenham came out saying this short statement yesterday or this morning, saying we have reached an agreement with Al Duhal SC in Qatar for the transfer of Toby Alderweireld. Now 32, Toby made 236 appearances in his 6 years at Tottenham. He's also reached 113 caps for Belgium, playing in the 2014-2018 World Cups and 2016 and 2020 European Championships. We wish Toby all the best for the future. Well, it's a very nice statement from Tottenham, but they couldn't add any trophies in there. But Toby Alderweireld will be moving to Al Dual. I'm not surprised. I would have liked to see him go to Belgium, do what Vincent Company did, move to like an Anderlecht or Club Brugge, play for one of the top teams back in his nation, or go to a lower down Premier League club where he could easily still play. I think he's still got the ability to play in a drop back kind of park the bus kind of style team. But he wants to get some money, making the paycheck, make the big bucks, and go to Qatar to play for Al Dual SC. Do I knock him? Do I blame him? No, not at all. I think it's a good transfer for Tottenham. I think it's a good transfer for Toby. He's making some money. You can't blame him at his age for 30 at 32. He's worked hard. He's played some great games, played in some big games, Champions League finals, FA Cup finals, and he's earned it. He's earned to make the big bucks in Qatar. And Tottenham getting some money more than I would have expected. I think it's 13 million, and it's very good for Tottenham and very good for Toby Alderweireld.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely more than I would have thought Tottenham would have got for him. But to get 13 million back for him at his age, I think is a good transfer for him. And like you said, you can't really blame the guy if he wants to go get his money at this point. And to be quite honest, he might even have a better chance at winning the title out there, and so even better for him if he can do that while getting some money. And then maybe as he gets later on in his career, as he gets towards age 35, 36, maybe at that point he wants to see himself back to Belgium. Who knows what he has in his career plans, but he definitely has the ability to continue playing on in some of these lower types of leagues for years to come. With that being said, now that leaves Tottenham with a lot of devoid, especially in experience as far as the center back position, with the only real experienced center backs they have on the team left in Eric Dyer and Davinson Sanchez, who are by no means solid center backs that any Tottenham fan would say they are comfortable with and think are great center backs for them moving forward. And so it leaves them in a spot where they have to make some decisions pretty quickly this summer about who they are going to bring in to improve their back line. And so I'll let you start off talking about some of those options that they have this summer.
Well, they have the likes of Tomiyasu. They still have Christian Romero, who is very talked about to move to Tottenham for around 50 million. They're into the personal terms are agreed. They just need to figure out that club fee, which might be touchy because we know Daniel Levy is very tough with those club fees. It'll be interesting to see if they can get that transfer fee down with Atalanta. Tomiyasu is obviously the plan B, which I'm not surprised because I'd rather Christian Romero if I was Tottenham. But who knows, because it's been a merry-go-round of managers for Tottenham and lots of rumors. It's been quite a merry-go-round a center backs now for Tottenham too. There's been quiet talks of Varane. There was lots of talks of Kounde till he rejected him. Skriniar earlier in the summer. You had Lacroix for a little bit from Wolfsburg, and just many names being thrown in the hat for Tottenham. And you can tell they're throwing names around and just hoping one of them will hook on and come and join them and start this new project with Tottenham. But it looks like Romero's very, very likely, and we're seeing a lot of movement on him. And if he eventually rejects him, which who knows could be possible, it would be a crushing blow for Tottenham, and probably Tomiyasu would be next in line to see if they can get him in the doors.
Yeah, definitely. As you mentioned, of course, Daniel Levy can be a bit stubborn with his transfer fees sometime, but it seems like the most difficult thing for Tottenham this summer has simply just been getting players to agree to want to come to Tottenham. I think we're really seeing the effects of not even being in the Europa League come into play. The Europa League conference is just not that appealing to many teams. or many players. Now, of course, the Champions League is still a reason that many players have said it, but I'm sure behind closed doors there is a bit of a discussion that these guys aren't even in the Europa League, and that's tough, and that's obviously affecting their ability to bring in players this summer. Now, of course, as you mentioned, Christian Romero has to be the number one target. I think he's definitely the best guy they can bring in of the options they've talked about of players that are actually willing to come to Tottenham. Tomiyasu's an okay number two, but at that point, I feel like you're just buying someone because you need to buy someone, not because he really upgrades your team. And then you're just in a scenario again where you have another guy who's on the team, but you don't really think is that great for the current or the future. And so I think if you're Tottenham, you really have to try and get Romero. And otherwise, you're honestly just as good to play your youth. You might as well develop something to go out and start spending money on someone that's just okay, he's there, but we don't really like him. That's kind of been something that Tottenham have got stuck at in the center back position for a couple of years now, and you're starting to see that with Davinson Sanchez. Of course, he's fine, but it's not a yay. We have Davinson Sanchez, and I think you're going to be in the same similar scenario if you have Tomiyasu as compared to Christian Romero, who of course is still young, only 23, and has played in some high leverage moments last season with Atalanta in the Champions League. Has that bit more experience, who can adjust a bit more seamlessly. And I think that's definitely what Tottenham need to try and get in for to try and get a high quality center back to finally add some quality to that back line.
Yeah, exactly. And you look at the center backs they have in their roster right now. Like you said, they have Eric Dyer, they have Davinson Sanchez, Tanganga, extremely young, Cameron Carter Vickers, and Joe Roden. That's it. And they have everyone knows now they've brought in Nuno Espirito Santos, who we all know plays a traditional back three, which he has at Wolves for many years. So if you're going to play a back three now with Joe Roden and Sanchez and Dyer, you're left with two center backs on the bench, which is very, very poor, especially when you're going to be in multiple competitions and you're going to be playing high games in the Premier League. You still bring in Romero, you're still left with three center backs on the bench, and for a back three, that's not enough for me. I think still think they need to bring in two, which is going to be very interesting. It also says in the Athletics report here that Nuno Espirito Santos didn't want Toby Alderweireld because he wants to play an energetic front-footed style of play. Which, if you watch Wolves never really played a front foot style of play, an energetic style of play. They're more of a sit back, soak up the pressure, counterattack, or constant pressure every once in a while. So it's going to be very interesting to see if he still wants to play that front three, if he wants to play a four in the back and step up. So with the amount of center backs he has, I think a back four is probably his best option. But Romero fits into a back three. I guess Eric Dyer can play back three, but I think he needs another two center backs at least to join this Spurs team to make them a contender or top four contender once again.
Yeah, definitely. I think two would be ideal. I just don't think it's overly likely, but I totally agree. In an ideal scenario, this team definitely brings in two center backs this summer. I think it's needed. It's one of the weak points of this team. But it's more than likely, especially after already bringing in Galini, now given it is on loan. But still, there's a bit of money there. And of course, Brian Gill as well. After they bring in Christian Romero, that's already going to be a good amount of money committed. So I'd find it hard to believe that they're going to double down and spend more money on a second purchase at the same position for a high quality starter as opposed to just backup. If you're spending 5 million somewhere, that's fine. But if I find it hard to believe they're going to start dishing out 20 to 25 million again on another center back, and I think that's ultimately going to hurt them later on in the year. Yeah, at least Tottenham in a very interesting scenario with Toby Alderweireld gone from the team. They lose that veteran leadership that they've had now for many years. And so someone on this team is going to have to step up on a leader as well. And on a team that doesn't really have a manager that has that experience within the group yet, it's going to be interesting to see who can exert themselves as a leader on this team, as there isn't really anyone in the roster that would assert themselves as a leader. I guess you'd probably say that's Harry Kane, but it's not a true natural leader that has really been that guy for this team, at least for a fair while.
Yeah, it's going to really leave them in a tough spot here. You got to look to replace his tough defensive work with his leadership, like you said. Harry Kane is a very good leader, being a captain for his country, but you also need more. And like we said many times already, Harry Kane is probably going to leave for Manchester City, and it doesn't look like Harry Kane wants to stay. So there's another leader walking out the door more than likely this summer. And if he doesn't, you still got a good leader there, but you need more than one leader in the dressing room. And Toby Alderweireld leaving, you had Vertonghen leaving the last summer. Lloris is probably going to be leaving next year, more than likely. And you don't really have many other leaders unless you want to count Eric Dyer. And that's really not the biggest leader in my opinion. And then you still have the likes of Harry Kane, and like I said, he might leave too. So this team might be going through a very, very interesting phase in the next year or two.
Yeah, most certainly. I think it's definitely a very rough transitional phase for Tottenham, and hopefully they can get it through fairly seamlessly. But there's definitely a lot of questions moving forward about this team through the next few seasons. Let us know down in the comment section what you guys think about Tottenham this summer, who they could bring in at center back, and how you think they could fare as they move through this transitional phase past Toby Alderweireld and Vertonghen and potentially Harry Kane as well. Hope you guys did enjoy the video. If you guys did, be sure to leave a like down below and subscribe to the channel if you are new. And for more transfer news like this, have a great rest of your day. We'll see you guys in the next one.